I read 14 books in July. I need to put this down. My fingers are hurting. God, that's heavy. In February, I also read 14, so I'm tied for my largest reading month so far this year. Now, that doesn't make it my best reading month, because I definitely had a bunch of 3 stars, but I also had some very big wins that I'm really happy that I read. My total pages read was 6,136 pages. That's actually not the most amount of pages I've read either. January had 6,792 pages with 13 books, and January was my best reading month. I have the highest score for my average rating. I had the most books I loved in January. So January is always the month to beat, and yet I still haven't beat it. But for July, I ended up reading 197 pages per day on average, and the average page count of a book was 439 pages. My most read genre was fantasy, not fantasy romance, fantasy, and there is a reason why. A series that I may have binged. I gave out 2 5 stars, 4 4 stars, 6 3 stars, 2 2 stars, and 0 1 stars, which puts me at an average rating of 3.43, which is okay. Not my favorite. I prefer to be over 3.5, but it is okay. I did give out a decent amount of 4 stars, and I definitely have some very pleasant feelings about the books. Even the 3-star books, most of them I had good vibes with. I read 3 fantasy romance, 2 thrillers, 3 romance, 1 horror, 4 fantasy, and 1 dark romance this month. I start off the month pretty strong reading Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. I read the Air Awaken series from her like 2-3 years ago, binged it all, absolutely love this YA series. It's elemental, it's so much fun. But then I've also read a bunch from her Married to Magic series, and I love one of those. I love the vampire one, but DNF'd the other 3 that I've read and probably won't continue on to that last one that I haven't read, which I think is the wolf one. And Arcana Academy really surprised me. It reminded me a lot more of the Air Awaken series than the Married to Magic series. A lot more fantasy leaning than just plain romance. In this we're following a world with tarot magic. Some people have the ability to draw tarot cards essentially, and if you do, you have to go to Arcana Academy to learn how to harness this magic and essentially be used by the people in power. Our main character has been illegally drawing cards. When she gets caught, she's sent to prison. She's gonna die in prison until the headmaster of Arcana Academy comes and offers her a deal. I'm gonna make you a fake identity as my bride. You're gonna come to Arcana Academy, learn at the academy, and do the thing I need you to do. And you will get a little bit of freedom back. You won't be stuck in prison. I mean, you're still attached to him and married to him, but you're not stuck in prison. I love an arranged marriage. It's like my favorite trope. Honestly, I think it is. A marriage of convenience just really gets me going. It really works. There's something about them together trying to work on something but not liking each other that really, really, really gets my gears like turning. Like it's feeling like a 5-star whenever a marriage of convenience is around. This one is so close. I ended up giving it 4 stars in the end, at least according to my spreadsheet. I thought I'd given it 5, but it does feel like a 4-star to me, so I'm happy that my spreadsheet says a 4. The romance for me wasn't my favorite. I wish it had been developed a little bit more and we had more scenes with it, but I loved the magic system. I loved the plot. I loved the world building created. I loved learning what all the tarot cards did. I loved learning what the major arcana did. I loved so much of just like this complex world that had been created. I loved the side characters. I do wish we had more of them, but I did like what I saw, and I loved the ending. It made me so excited for book 2. I think that this is going to be a sensation. People are going to love this, so please pick up Arcana Academy if you haven't already. I think that it is going to be a book talk favorite, a booktube favorite, so you should get on it and read it ahead of the trend. After that, I did read a 5-star. I read The Thrashers by Julie Soto, and I loved this little YA thriller. If you liked A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson, you should pick this up. It has similar vibes, but very different all at once. But it's just like a fun YA thriller mystery. We're trying to solve what happened. We have a group called The Thrashers, where they take someone in, they befriend them, and then at one point they thrash them. It means they just stop being their friend, essentially. And most of this high school has been thrashed. When one girl gets thrashed, she ends up becoming unalived. Please check trigger warnings. And we have to figure out what happened, what led to her being unalived. A little bit of a murder mystery style. And we also are just figuring out more things about the friends and stuff in this book. I thought this was so relatable. There's so many themes in this that I thought were so well done. The idea of fitting in, the idea of feeling like you don't fit in, feeling like you could be the next person to be thrashed at all times. times, especially in high school when kids are mean and the world is cruel and you don't really know who you are and how you fit in. I feel like we can all relate to that story. I liked the discussion on privilege, like white privilege, money privilege, pretty privilege, popular privilege. I liked the discussion on kindness. I liked that actions had consequences in this story. I liked so much. I liked how real this felt, and I just thought this was so well done, and definitely will be recommending it to anyone who is thinking that they might want just a fun murder mystery thriller that's still deep. Although I keep saying it's fun, this just still had so much depth and emotion to it. I really, really did enjoy this one, and think I will be recommending this to a lot of people for the rest of eternity. After that high, we crashed out a little bit and read Heartless by Elsie Silver. Officially, probably can tell you that I'm not an Elsie Silver girl. Is it because I live in the province that these are set and they really remind me of the men I went to school with that are not like this at all and I'm just triggered and getting flashbacks? Maybe. Is it because this is said to be a cowboy romance and where's the cowboying? Like, where is the ranch life? Where are the cows? Where are even the horses? Maybe. Is it because this really revolved around two characters and we didn't really see anything else outside of them? Maybe. I don't love Elsie Silver. I think that I can officially say that. I do think this had the best romance out of the three Elsie Silvers I've read, but the least amount of plot outside the romance, and I have really learned I need something to keep me going, whether it is just a conversation about something like themes, whatever, but I just don't think I like Elsie Silver's writing. I don't think she's for me, which is really sad because she's so popular, but I think I should officially give up on her because I gave this one 2 stars and just didn't really enjoy it. I think there's better romances out there with heavier themes and honestly, for me and my taste, better written. Then I read my horror of the month, which was When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy, a 3-star. Back and forth between this and Rest Stop by the same author are my least favorites by him. I think it really would depend on the day. This follows our main character who finds a kid and goes on, they run from the kid's father essentially, and that's really all I'm going to tell you. There are very heavy Little Red Riding Hood themes in this, fairy tale themes in this, and I think I wanted this story to be something that it wasn't. I kept wanting it to get more sci-fi than it was. I wanted it to be more similar to Intercepts, which was a 5-star horror for me this year, or I don't know, just I wanted the sci-fi elements in this to come way more into play than they did. I did like the twist at the end. I think that's what made it a 3-star for me. Overall, I think I really just didn't connect to this story the way I connected to the other books by Nat Cassidy. He is an auto-buy author for me. I've loved Mary and Nestlings from him. Mary discusses a woman going through menopause essentially and her body changing and what that means, how the world sees her, her body image, things like that, and I felt that I could really heavily relate to that, as well as the horror going around, making me feel very on edge, creating this really like deep atmospheric horror story that I really liked. And then the Nestlings discusses having a child and some of the things that happens when you have a child and maybe having regrets about having that child. And as someone who's absolutely terrified of having a child and doesn't think that she necessarily wants one at this moment in my life, I really related hardcore to that story, as well as again having that horror atmosphere that I really, really liked. This is an on-the-run story. I personally don't like on-the-run stories. I don't like traveling in my stories. I just find it really boring to watch a character go from place A to place B to place C to place D, and like how many hotel rooms can we go to that something happens and then they have to run again and then they're at a hotel room again and then they have to run again. Just not my personal taste in stories, but I know so many people who are loving this. Also, the theme in this one, which is why I said I couldn't relate to it, I kind of got distracted, is family issues, parent issues, daddy issues specifically, and I lived a very, very good childhood and don't personally think I have any of those, but I think that the story itself is very relatable and I see the themes, and the author's note at the end always hits me in my feelings quite hard. So I just didn't relate to this book, and I self-insert quite a bit into books. I definitely do. Okay, my next 2-star of the month went to Riftborn by Greenwich and Lennox. This just felt like a book I've read. To me, this felt like any other fantasy romance that I've read. It didn't have enough intricate plot lines to make it feel unique, and it's okay for a book to be a standard formula. I've liked books before that have a standard formula of fantasy romance that I've probably read every trope in the book already that happens in it, and the plotline is not shocking at all. Not every book needs to be something new and exciting, but there has to be something that I care about. I didn't care about the world building, I didn't care about the characters, and I definitely didn't care about the plot because it was so predictable for me. This follows a main character who is Riftborn. Essentially, this country invaded and took over, and the Riftborns eventually fought back and had a rebellion, and since then all the Riftborns have been marked in order to stop a rebellion from ever happening again. They're essentially, the generations down are still being being charged for the crimes of their grandparents and things like that. We follow her, and she uses her magic in front of someone she shouldn't, and instead of going and getting the death penalty, she ends up being recruited into the army because he thinks that he could use her powers in order to help win the war that's happening. The ending of this is very shocking and definitely made me think about picking up book 2, but after a few days sitting on this, I was like, why am I picking up book 2 to a book that I didn't really like at all? So honestly, this could probably go down to a 1 star if I'm thinking about it, because I really do not have fond feelings on this. I was so bored the entire time, but I know this is very loved on Book Talk. Okay, the next one is very exciting. I finally, after years of this sitting on my shelf, picked up The Bone Season. If you see me talk about it recently, I used to hold up this copy because this is the one that was sitting on my shelf, but I upgraded to the new copies. I love the new covers so much more. I do enjoy these covers as well, but these are just stunning. I was shocked by how much I loved this. I have debated unhauling this book for years. Like every couple months, I look at this book and go, am I gonna like it? I don't really think so. I loved this. I ended up giving this one 4 stars and binging the entire series, which I think we can just talk about the series. Well, not the entire series. After The Bone Season, I read The Mime Order, which I gave 5 stars. I read The Song Rising, which I gave 4 stars. And then a few books later, I also read The Mask Falling, which I gave 4 stars. So The Mime Order is definitely my favorite so far in the series. Ranking wise, Mime Order, I still think I like The Bone Season second, and then The Mask Falling. But on any given day, I could probably swap The Bone Season and The Mask Falling. And then The Song Rising. I still have one more book that is currently out yet to binge in the series, and then there are 2 more books still coming in the series, which has me excited. But I thought this was such an incredible series. It's so fun, it's so different, it's so deep and so well done. There's so much world building in this. Let me just hold up The Bone Season again. I don't need to hold up 4 books that are hard and heavy. This one follows a world where clairvoyancy is illegal, but has happened on our world. It is actually Earth. And so we follow our main character, who is clairvoyant, as she works in the underground. She is the Pale Dreamer. She works for one of the top gangs in the underground. But one day she accidentally uses her clairvoyancy and she is caught, and she is sent to a prison that she didn't even know about. And she learns a lot more about the world and why clairvoyancy is seen as so bad and illegal. This was such an interesting setting. It's kind of set in a prison for most of the book, and I thought it was very interesting. There's a lot of world building. A lot of information is given to you in these. I always say just trust the process. You might be confused at times, but anything that matters does come back around. Also, I should say I read both texts. So recently the author rewrote The Bone Season, but this is the original copy and this is the rewrote copy. I personally did read a lot from this copy, and then I had the audiobook of this copy, and so I didn't think there were that many changes. I think characters were better written. They had a little more depth in the newer copy. Her writing is definitely a lot more polished, but overall the plot, the things you need to know, definitely stayed the same. And so if you have an old copy, do not feel shy about reading it. You don't have to go invest in a new copy, but I do think that it is better written. I understand why it's her preferred text to have the better written one, but I don't think that you have to have consumerism get you and go buy the new one if you don't want to. I just eventually did because I liked these copies and I wanted the whole series since I only owned The Bone Season. The Mime Order ended up being my favorite just because we followed the gang a little bit more. The Mime Order gave me 6 of Crows if Kaz Brekker was the villain, versus The Bone Season gave me a little bit more just like dystopian, Divergent-ish, but then The Song Rising gave me Mockingjay Part 1 completely. So there are a lot of comps going on, but I really just like loved this series so much and need more people to read it. I definitely will be screaming about it all year long. I definitely could see this being one of my favorite series when it's completed. Okay, after a little bit of a binge, I read Caught Up, which I gave 3 stars. I enjoyed this one. I actually think I liked it better than the first one, but that's kind of surprising because the reviews had me very scared. I feel like a lot of reviews liked Lights Out better. I do think Lights Out has more of a plot, so if that's what you're going into expecting, this one doesn't really. It's really focused on the two in their romance. I liked following these 2 characters. I liked their romance. I liked their humor, and I definitely liked the smut scenes in this one quite a bit. I thought they explored some kinks and things like that that I really enjoyed, and I had fun with these 2 characters since we are following a character we met in book 1. I do wish that the mafia was a little bit more in the story, considering I feel like we all thought it was going to be a mafia romance when we knew it followed him, but I feel like he's like not really that morally gray. Even though he is, you can see that he wants out very quickly. Oh, this one is also second chance romance. I'm not the biggest fan of second chance romance, but we follow our main character who's the son of a mafia person, a big mafia up top, you know, leader of a gang, and then his high school love that his dad told him to stay away from. Now he is back to stalking her essentially, and she makes essentially OnlyFans content and he is her #1 fan on OnlyFans, but of course she doesn't know that. He uses an anonymous identity, and when she finds out and they rekindle their love, sparks are flying. And I just think it had a lot of humor to the romance. I really liked her humor. I liked being in her POVs. I liked her friends a lot. I liked that she had side character friends that like really felt like they had purpose and they were fun, and they really had a good time. There's also a lot of representation in this, a lot of good discussions. I enjoyed this one. I gave it 3 stars, but I have very fond memories of it, and I will definitely continue to read in this series. Then I picked up a sequel, Throne of Ice and Blood, and I was pleasantly shocked by this one. I also gave it 3 stars, but originally when I picked this up, I definitely thought I was going to be DNFing the series. I had heard not so great things about the sequel, but I think that it actually has me more intrigued about the next book as well. Book 1 was definitely more of a silly, goofy, good time book. We had a character who was in trials. Essentially in this world, the Fae used to own the dragon shifters. They used to use the dragon shifters. They were dragon riders. They trapped them, and now that's been flipped, and the dragon riders are on top, and they treat the Fae really badly, and there is something called the Atonement Trials that our main character enters into, and if you win it, you earn your freedom. There was a lot of fun banter in the first one. I just had a really good time with the first one. I think this one is a little bit more serious. I think the pacing was definitely off in the second one, and I feel like this was a book for our character, not for us. I found that it was very predictable, and I knew everything, and I was just kind of waiting for our main character to come to realizations, but I think it was a setup book for book 3. It really did feel like it had middle book syndrome, and it has me excited for book 3, so I definitely will be continuing on in the series, which is very exciting, because originally I didn't think I was going to. Okay, and then I read As Good as Dead, which is the 3rd book into the Holly Jackson series, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This is my least favorite. I actually was very disappointed in this book. I know this is a controversial book in general. People either love it or hate it. It's their favorite or their least favorite. I knew that going into it, and I was expecting some weird stuff. I really liked the darker tone that this took. I really, really did, and I still enjoyed this one. I still gave it 3 stars. I still would read the series all over again, knowing that this is how it ended. I thought it concluded very well, but I read this series for the murder mystery element. In the first book, she is doing a school project on a cold case. Someone in her town was murdered, and she thinks the person who was blamed was not actually the murderer, so she starts to investigate and doing interviews and has a podcast where she puts all her interviews out on, and I thought that was what was so engaging about this series, is trying to figure out who done it, who didn't do it, who did this thing that led to this thing through all of her interviews and stuff. And I think that that element is taken away in the 3rd one, and that just didn't work for me as well. I think I could have liked this in another version, because I think I was just expecting the podcast elements within the story, and I think if I had known that that mystery isn't there, I could have liked this more, but I did like what it meant for our characters. Then I read a little bit of a wild one for me, Left to Forever by Tara Dewitt. This is a second chance romance following 2 characters who were married, they had a kid, and then they got divorced, and now they're trying again. I liked elements of this one. I gave it 3 stars. I was a little bit bored by the story. I don't love second chance, so I think that's why. I think this was a little too romantic for me. I like them to be at each other's throat. I like them to be bantering and making fun of each other, and a little more hate to love, I think, than this is. But I thought the writing style was so strong that it kept me engaged and intrigued by this story, so I still liked it. And that's like a really weird mixed emotion to have, where like I was bored but also intrigued all at once. So I never DNF'd it. I read to the end, and I definitely think I will read more from this author in the future if it's more tropes that I enjoy. I just don't think second chance is for me. And the last book I read in July was Killer of Mine, which is a Why Choose following the daughter of a serial killer who is trying to hunt her father down and ends up in the police investigation helping an elite squad of 4 men, and there's a little Why Choose element. I read this in literally one sitting. It was fun. Was it good? I don't really think so, but was it fun? Yes. It reminds me of my feelings I had when I read Tessa Hale and the Dragons of Ember Hollow series, where like I couldn't put it down. I wanted to know what was happening. I wanted to read it, but the romance happens way too fast. They essentially look at her, all 4 of them. They're like, yep, I love her. Way too fast. And I don't know what to say. Like, I didn't think the writing was that strong. I didn't think the characters were that strong, but I had so much fun with it. I was deeply invested into learning more about her father and how she was going to track him down, what the mystery was, what she was keeping from the men because she had secrets, and I really just like had fun. It gave me Why Choose Mind F put together, and I needed that in my life, and I just had fun, and I think I could potentially continue the series if the right time came up. I don't really plan on continuing it. I don't plan on adding it to my series spreadsheet, but if I was doing like a 24-hour readathon or something and I just wanted like a quick easy read, or I just was in a slump and felt burnt out, I definitely think picking up the second book could be a lot of fun. I think I had a lot of fun with this, even though I wouldn't say it was necessarily good. I gave it 3 stars. I don't think the writing is very strong. I don't even think the plot was that good, but I was just deeply invested still in just turning the pages and having a silly, goofy time with it. It was definitely a heavy reading month. I was flying through books. Even the 3 stars I just had fun with, even though I didn't like love them. They were just like fun reads for the most part. I had a lot of content that I enjoyed, so I will leave some of those vlogs up on the screen because I am very proud of the content I made this month. I had a lot of fun, and I think that's also what kept me reading. If you made it all the way to the end of this video and you'd like to leave me an emoji just to say you were here, leave me the thumbtack emoji, and also let me know what your favorite book of the month was. Mine was probably The Thrashers, and have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.